She never missed a shift. Not in 37 years. Not for weather. Not for injury. Not even when her mother died and the funeral was 3 counties over. Mara showed up. Same time. Same uniform. Same worn boots, with laces tied tight enough to stop blood. She wasn't known for much. Not laughter. Not stories. Not company at lunch. But no one ever questioned whether she'd be there. She was part of the furniture. Reliable as the ticking wall clock. Quiet as the security cameras. And now, for the first time in her life, she was early on her last day. The parking lot was still dark when her truck pulled in. Gravel whispered beneath the tires. She turned off the engine but didn't move. Just sat there, staring through the windshield as dawn bled slowly into the horizon. Pale blue, soft gold, the kind of morning that made you believe in endings. Inside the cab, everything was clean, not just tidy, clean. Her lunchbox packed with surgical precision, clipboard tucked under the passenger seat, transceiver battery tested, spare gloves folded in thirds, the habit of someone who had nothing left to prove and still chose not to cut corners. Her uniform blouse hung from the grab handle, pressed, buttoned, already perfect. She pulled it on without looking, as if her hands had memorized the process. Long ago, tugged the collar flat, brushed invisible lint from the shoulder seam. Then she opened the door and stepped out. The air smelled like old pine and concrete. Somewhere, far off, a dog barked once. The guard trailer lights flickered dimly. Nothing else moved. She walked slow, like the earth would keep turning whether she hurried or not. Inside, the logbook was already open, and beside her name, in a slanted, rushed kind of handwriting, someone had written one word in blue ink: final. She didn't pause, didn't blink. Just signed next to it and set the pen down square. No one else was there. No fanfare. No one hiding behind a file cabinet to surprise her with cake. Just the soft hum of the vending machine and the low click of the wall clock. Ticking past 5:58 a.m., Mara exhaled once. She knew what came next, and whatever the day held, she would meet it exactly the way she had met all the others, on time, by the book, and without ceremony. Because some people don't need a send-off. They just need a reason to finish well. The manifest was already waiting. 1 inmate, male, age 62, federal transfer, code classification neutral, no behavioral flags, no medical notes, no escort required. On paper, it was clean, but Mara didn't trust paper. She slid the clipboard free, ran her gloved thumb over the edge. The corner was curled, smudged with something that looked like oil or sweat. The name on the top line was typed in a slightly different font than the rest. Subtle, but enough. The seal was there, but it had bled just slightly at the edges. Fresh, maybe too fresh. She read it twice. Then, once more, out loud, under her breath. Just the name. Didn't mean anything to her. Didn't have to. Outside, the wind stirred. Cold, sharp. The kind that worked its way through seams no matter how tight you pulled your collar. She walked the yard like she always did. Measured, methodical, boots landing steady, eyes scanning fences, gates, cameras. The van sat where it always had, squat and square, flecked with old paint and older scars, a beast built to carry people who didn't want to be carried. She approached from the rear, checked the latch, still stiff on the left hinge, same as yesterday. The side panel was dull with road grime, but no new scrapes. The tires looked good, but she squatted anyway, pressed fingers to rubber. One sigh off from ideal. Not enough to worry her, but she noted it in her head. Inside the van, the smell was the same as ever. Bleach, vinyl, a trace of metal. She slid into the seat, adjusted the mirror, checked all angles. Ignition turned, dashboard blinked green. Everything lit the way it should. She set the manifest on the console. The engine hummed, low beneath her feet. Still no words, still no one else. Even now, on her final shift, no partner, no send-off, no handshake at the gate, just her and the job. She didn't mind. She preferred it that way. She put the van in gear. The prison gate groaned as it opened, slow, reluctant, as if it too didn't want to let her go. And there, standing in the intake lane, was the man she'd be driving. Thin, pale, shackled wrists looped to a belt at his waist, uniform clean, eyes down. He didn't speak when she opened the side door. She didn't ask him to. He stepped in, sat without being told. Chain rattled once as he shifted. She secured the lock, steel on steel, a pause, then she climbed back into the driver's seat, checked her watch, 6:19 a.m., still early, still ahead. The van rolled forward, past the fence, past the security tower, past the line where the prison's shadow ended and the world began. No music, no words, no glance in the rear view, just the steady hum of tires and the long road stretching ahead. It was supposed to be routine, but Mara had learned over years, over miles, over bodies, that routine was just the shape silence took before something broke it, and something was coming. She could feel it, not in her gut, not in fear, but in her bones. The highway opened wide in both directions. 2 lanes, no shoulders, cracked lines like faded scars across old pavement. On either side, dry fields stretched long, gold and brown and quiet. A hawk drifted overhead, casting a slow shadow that came and went across the windshield. Mara drove like she always did, steady, eyes forward, one hand near the gear, one on the wheel. Route card clipped to the dash. Radio squelched every few minutes. Nothing useful, static, dead air, standard for this stretch. In the back, the prisoner hadn't moved. Not much to say when your wrists are bolted to your waist. He coughed once, soft, like he didn't mean to. Then silence again. Mara didn't turn, didn't ask if he needed water, didn't ask his name. The only question that mattered had already been answered by the paperwork. Transport. Required. Everything else was noise. Then, 37 miles and pattern broke. A detour sign, bright orange, crisp, too new, leaning just slightly wrong at the base, like it had been planted in a hurry. And past it, a cruiser state colors parked half off the road, one tire, sunk into dirt, driver's door closed. No one inside. She slowed, not because she wanted to, because routine demanded it. The map said nothing about construction. The route card was clean. No alerts, no reroutes filed, but the road ahead was coned off, and beyond it, the bridge, the only bridge for 12 miles, was blocked. Standing beside the cones were 2 men, uniforms, mostly right, mostly botches, looked standard, belts too, but the boots were wrong, scuffed Desitan, not standard issue black. The older man held a clipboard, the younger one kept a hand near his hip, like he was just waiting for a reason to twitch. They waved her down. Mara pulled up slow. Rolled the window halfway. The older one stepped forward, smile like someone trying it on for the first time. Inspection, he said. We've got a detour in place. Federal order. We'll take the inmate from here. Her hands stayed low, one on the wheel, one out of sight. Detour code, she asked. Delta Romeo 64, he said too quickly. Wrong format. Should have been 3 letters, 2 numbers. She didn't blink. Transfer override signed by same officer who sent your manifest, Delaney. She stared at him, then down at the clipboard. Delaney retired 6 months ago. She reached across slowly, picked up the manifest again, checked the signature. It said Delaney. It even looked right, but the date format was off. Month before day, not federal standard. Routing number wrong by 1 digit. No embossed seal. All of it added up to something small. But Mara knew the way. Small things killed people. She didn't speak, didn't argue, she just nodded once, then shifted the van into reverse. The man behind her reached for his weapon, but didn't draw. She hit the gas, hard. Gravel spat from the tires. The van lurched back into the road, then off it, bouncing through dry brush, sliding between scrub trees. No shots, no sirens, no chase, just open land and the long, steady growl of the engine. Behind her, the prisoner spoke for the first time. You, going to call that in? Mara didn't answer. No signal, no backup, just miles of dead coverage and a van not meant for off-road, but beneath her seat was something older than GPS, a hand-built transceiver, analog, line of sight. She flicked it on, waited for the red blink. Pressed, held, released. The blink turned green, a ping. Somewhere, someone would hear. She didn't smile, just exhaled and drove deeper into the trees. The van idled low beneath the trees. Branches scraped lightly across the roof, whispering a language older than engines. Fog had started to settle in patches, pale ribbons twisting through the brush like smoke that had forgotten where it came from. Mara cut the lights. Engine stayed running, just enough power to keep the cage climate steady, not for the prisoner, for the protocol. She slid off one glove, reached down, felt under the seat for the secondary lockbox. Still latched, still cold. She didn't open it, not yet, but the fact that it was there, that it hadn't been tampered with, meant she still had options. In the rear cage, the man hadn't moved. Shackles clinked when the van jolted, but otherwise, he sat still, eyes forward. Who were they? He asked quietly. Not your concern. He nodded once, as if that made sense, as if answers weren't part of the deal anymore. Mara pulled the map from the door pocket, not the digital one, but the paper fold-out, creased and corner-worn from years of glove-box storage. She ran her finger across the back routes. Narrow fire roads, emergency trails, places not meant for government transport. She circled a spot, an old repeater tower, decommissioned on the official books, but she'd seen it with her own eyes 2 years ago, still standing, still wired, barely. You've done this before, the prisoner said. She didn't look at him. Done what? Run like the systems, behind you instead of beside you? She folded the map. I do my job. That what this is? He leaned back in the cage. Metal rattled softly. You didn't ask my name, he said. I read it. You didn't ask what I did. Doesn't matter. He studied her in the mirror. The way her jaw stayed set, the way her fingers never stopped moving. Glove, map, mirror, check, recheck, muscle memory wrapped around routine like armor. You're not curious? He asked. No. You ever wonder if the manifest is wrong? No. He smiled faintly, but not like he found her funny, more like he knew what silence tasted like too. Outside, something shifted in the trees, not loud, not close, just movement, natural or not. She couldn't be sure. The fog was thicker now, enough to muffle sound, enough to hide shapes that didn't want to be seen. She shut the glove box with a soft click, then pulled the van into gear again, eased forward through the brush. Not fast, not far, just enough to see a light flicker through the trees. Blue dot, then red dot, then nothing. False signal, not hers. A trap, maybe, or bait, or a dead cruiser set to draw her in. Didn't matter. She veered left. Tires cracked twigs underfoot. Brush scraped along the undercarriage. This van wasn't built for soft ground, but she coaxed it forward like a creature she knew well. No panic, no rush, just movement with purpose. The man behind her spoke once more. You could have handed me over. No one would have blamed you. She didn't answer, because blame was never part of her equation. Only the next mile. Only the job. And the job wasn't done. Not yet. Why didn't they chase her? That thought had been sitting quiet in the back of her mind since the moment she reversed out of that fake checkpoint. Men like that didn't improvise. They waited, calculated, positioned. So why let her go? Mara watched. The road behind her narrow now, barely a trail. The side mirror trembled with each bump, but nothing followed. No dust plume, no crunch of tires, no lights. Not even birdsong anymore. The silence pressed in, thick as fog. She stopped the van under a low canopy of branches, set the brake, turned the key halfway. Engine held just above idle, quiet enough to listen for the kinds of sounds that didn't belong in a forest. The prisoner shifted in the back, chained to waist, 2 ankles, standard setup, but his movements were too measured, too easy. You've done transport before, she said. He didn't lie. Couple times. Federer, he tilted his head. Depends which side you're asking from. She looked at him through the mesh. What were you before? There was a pause, not hesitation, just ... Choosing. I fixed things. He said. What kind of things? Mostly ones people didn't know were broken. She didn't press. His answer told her enough. She unfolded the map again. The repeater tower was still a few miles out. If it was operational, it'd ping someone. If not, she'd be on her own. She reached beneath the seat and opened the lockbox. Inside, emergency kit, spare key, burner tag, and a revolver. She checked the chamber. 5 rounds. She closed it and holstered it under her vest. The prisoner watched carefully, but didn't flinch. You expecting them to come back? He asked. No, she said. If they wanted you quiet, they'd have tried harder. He nodded. So what do they want? Her voice didn't change. To know where you end up. She folded the map. Put it back in the door. Which means someone is watching. He leaned back again, thoughtful. You think they're government? No. That part she was certain of. Government made mistakes, big ones, loud ones, with paperwork behind them. But they didn't use fake checkpoints on rural transfer routes. They didn't forge the name of a retired officer on a manifest. They didn't misplace prisoners in the middle of nowhere and expect no one to notice. Whoever those men were, they knew protocol, but not well enough. That meant ex-military contracted, trained on the inside, operating off-book, and whoever hired them wanted one thing: the man in her cage, not dead, just ... taken. She slid the van back into drive. Branches parted ahead. The trees began to thin. Then she saw it, a concrete base, half swallowed by vines and rot, an old steel tower stretching up into gray fog, blinking faintly red from the top like a heartbeat. Still alive. She parked under the canopy, killed the engine. The prisoner stayed quiet. She unlocked the rear cage, stepped inside, and knelt beside his restraints. Her hand moved fast, practiced. Key turned, shackles dropped. He didn't move. She stood, watching him. "You run," she said. "I leave you." He nodded once. "Fair." She opened the side door. Wind pushed in, damp, heavy, smelled like rust and moss and time. He stepped down, no fight, no hesitation. Together they crossed the clearing toward the tower, and from the shadows behind them, somewhere deep in the trees, a camera lens blinked shut. The repeater tower loomed above them, skeletal, rust-striped, humming faintly against the low-hanging sky. Mara reached the door first. Steel frame, padlock hinges fused with time. She didn't bother with the lock. One sharp kick, then another. Door cracked inward with a groan, metal peeling like old bark. Dust curled out into the air, thick and stale. Inside, concrete floor, broken rack mounts, a sagging desk, and one battered control panel, humming faintly like something half asleep, but still breathing. The prisoner stepped in behind her. Didn't expect it to work. "It might not," she said, moving toward the panel. The power light blinked. Faint green dot, still alive. She pulled a wire from her jacket, thin coiled hand soldered, plugged it into the auxiliary jack on the board. Then she reached for the analog pulse switch, same as the one under her van seat, built to match, built to talk. She pressed once, held, released, no sound. Just a pause, then a second blink. Stronger, cleaner. The tower had heard her. Somewhere, someone would see it. Could be 10 minutes. Could be 10 minutes. Could be 2 hours. Could be no one. She backed away from the panel. Let it hum. The prisoner leaned against the wall, arms loose, still no restraints. "You always this prepared?" he asked. "Used to be," she said. "Didn't think I'd need it again." He looked at her for a long time, like he was measuring something. Not her strength, not her aim, her code. "Why didn't you hand me over?" She didn't answer. She crouched near the door, scanning the tree line. "You think I'm innocent?" he asked. "No." "You think I matter?" "No." He waited then. "So why?" She turned toward him, voice flat, steady. "Because the orders said to deliver you alive. No exceptions. That's the job." He nodded slowly. "Not many like you left, no." Outside, the trees whispered. Then, a sound, low, mechanical, approaching from the west. She rose, moved to the edge of the doorway, saw dust kicking between the branches, tires grinding dirt. One vehicle, black, unmarked, no siren. She ducked back, glanced at him. "Stay out of sight," she said. He did. The vehicle slowed, stopped just beyond the tree line. Doors opened. Boots hit dirt. 3 men, same uniforms, different faces. One called out, "Come, friendly, Marshal Reyes. We're here to relieve you." She didn't respond. He stepped forward, closer, no weapon drawn, no armor. To Kushal she waited until he was 10 paces from the door. Then stepped out, sidearm drawn. "Authorization code," she said. He blinked, smiled faintly. "We've already got clearance." "Code," he sighed. "That won't be necessary." Behind him, the other 2 moved. She fired once, into the dirt by his foot. He stopped moving. "I won't ask again." The man's smile faded. "You're making this difficult." "No," she said. "You are." Behind her, the tower pulsed again, stronger, brighter. Help was getting closer. The man in front of her raised his hands. The others stayed still. She didn't lower the gun, didn't flinch, didn't waver. They weren't here to negotiate, and she wasn't here to surrender. The job wasn't over, not until she finished it. They stood in a tense silence, Mara at the threshold, sidearm steady, eyes locked on the man who thought he could bluff his way into a handover. Behind her, the repeater tower blinked again, strong, rhythmic, a signal, a flare, and she knew what that meant. They were running out of time. The man's voice changed, softer now, but edged. You don't know who he is. I don't need to. You're risking a lot. I've risked more for less. He lowered his hands an inch, just enough to show he wasn't backing down. You can walk away from this. Let us take it from here. Clean. Quiet. Mara didn't blink. You want clean. You should have stayed in uniform. No insignia. No badges. No official vehicle. No paperwork. That was their mistake. They thought a woman at the end of her career wouldn't check. Didn't know how hard she'd fought to live this long. She stepped forward, one pace. Measured. You come any closer, she said. I finish this on the ground. The lead man glanced back at his partners. Small motion. Not a signal. Not yet, but close. She saw the shift in their stances, how the one on the right put weight on his back leg, ready to draw. She fired again, this time, at the tree beside him. With chipped bark flew, and both men flinched. The message was clear, no negotiations, no second chances. They backed off a step. Tension broke, just slightly. The man in front exhaled, hands still half raised. You're going to regret this, he said. Mara's voice was ice. You've got 20 seconds to leave my line of sight. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the men turned. One by one, boots crunching slowly across forest floor. They walked back toward the black SUV. Doors opened, shut, engine turned over. The vehicle didn't drive away fast, it glided, slow, like a threat not yet spoken. She stood in the doorway until the dust settled. Only then did she lower her sidearm. The prisoner stepped out, from behind the inner wall. Quiet. You didn't have to do that. She didn't look at him. Get back in the van, she said. That tower signals someone's coming. They better be. He paused, then climbed into the rear cabin again. No argument, no flippant remark. Just the rattle of chains as he settled into his seat. As if he knew finally that she wasn't doing this for him. She locked the cage, checked the revolver, loaded the final round. Then she started the engine. Tires rolled slow through the clearing, then back onto the narrow trail. The woods thinned, the sky opened, and far ahead, just past the ridge, a helicopter, dark green military pattern, real insignia this time, real orders. She exhaled, didn't smile, didn't speak. She just drove, because the job wasn't done, not until she delivered him alive. The blades cut low across the tree line, rhythmic, pulsing, measured. Mara eased the van into a small clearing just below the ridge. Gravel crunched beneath the tires, then gave way to flattened grass and rotor wash. Dust swirled in half circles across the windshield. She let the engine idle but kept her foot near the brake, just in case. The helicopter touched down slowly. No sudden moves. No rush. Two figures stepped out. One wore a National Guard windbreaker, patches clean and sharp. The other was civilian dark suit, badge visible, clipped at the hip but not flashed. Legitimate. Maybe. She still didn't move. Not yet. The man in the windbreaker approached first. Hands visible, empty. Marshal Reyes, he called above the noise. We got your pulse. She nodded once, but said nothing. We traced it to the repeater. Didn't think anyone still used those. Most don't, she said. The man in the suit came next. He didn't walk like he belonged in the woods. City shoes, thin coat. He stopped, 10 feet away. We're the retrieval team, he said, lifting his badge just high enough. Authorization code, ECO7 and Delta 12. She kept one hand on the wheel, the other near her holster. Transfer seal, she asked. He reached into a pocket, withdrew a tablet, held it up for her to see. The document looked correct, formatting tight, routing numbers aligned, timestamp within the hour. QR seal shimmered under the tablet's surface. She studied it for a full 10 seconds. Then she shut off the engine. Silence fell like a curtain. She stepped out, boots planting firmly in the earth. The wind from the blades tossed her collar, lifted the hem of her blouse. She walked to the rear of the van, unlocked the cage. The prisoner looked up, eyes narrowed slightly. This it? He asked. This is the handoff, she replied. He didn't move. Still don't want to know who I am. No. Still don't care what I did. No. He nodded. You're rare. She didn't reply. He stepped out under his own power, shackles still in place, no resistance. The two men flanked him, not roughly, but not casually either. The man in the windbreaker gave Mara a small nod. We'll log the successful delivery. She just watched until the blades spun harder. Until the door shut behind them. until the helicopter lifted from the ridge and vanished into the high gray sky. Only then did Mara let her shoulders fall a fraction. She turned, walked to the van, opened the driver door, not to leave, but to sit, quiet, alone. She looked down at the duty log on the clipboard, her name, final, still written there, still, true. And now, complete. She peeled off her gloves, folded them carefully. Set them on the dash. For the first time in hours, she let herself feel the weight in her chest. Not exhaustion, not fear, just the long, steady ache of something finished. Not victory, not even relief. Just the clean, quiet end of a job done right. No medal, no speech, no story. Just silence, and the wind.